Good evening, and welcome back to the Placid Plastic Podcast. I'm your host, Lucas, and I'm with my co-host, David.
Hello, everybody.
And you've come just in time to see the long-anticipated arrival of Senor Flamingo.
We've been waiting for this for years.
Indeed. He
It's
died
so
before, but he's back.
so I've actually never seen the flamingo go into the pool. This is actually a first time for me as well. Um, and that I feel like I'm witnessing history. I feel like this is one of the most iconic and meaningful moments in my entire life. So I'm just gonna cherish it. If I cry, I'm sorry. It's just so powerful. The imagery. You know what I mean?
It is beautiful.
Schindler's List ain't got shit on this.
Jesus.
So it slips into the pool, and does it stay in there forever, or what happens?
Probably until we restart.
Oh hell yeah!
Or it gets
And it
stabbed
looks,
like before.
oh yeah, with the night duck, and it looks like what I said last time. The two magnet ducks are still together, but I'm surprised the flamingo hasn't fallen in. It's practically. I didn't even notice that it slipped in too. And I was looking at the screen.
Yeah, it literally had just went like shunk and fell down.
Nice. Well, while we're waiting for that, I was talking to Lucas Proud of the episode, and he had recently gone through a journey through Jojo's Bizarre Adventure, and I thought it'd be cool if you could just talk about how you've watched the first 5 parts. Stone Ocean, similar to me, I did not really care for Stone Ocean, so I only watched a couple episodes. But we could focus on the first 5 parts, and what I would like for you to do is, oh, hold on.
Oh,
Come on.
we're getting there. Just gotta
What
make
I
sure
want
the
you-
night stays away.
Yeah, what I want you to do is just kind of go through each part. Phantom. There's a Phantom Blood, Battle Tendency, Stardust Crusaders, Diamond is Unbreakable, and Golden Wind. And come on. Oh, the duck's pushing it.
I was just about to say, like, why is this happening?
There's a firecracker duck that just landed. What?
Oh.
Oh, that's where that comes from. The firecracker achievement. So we need the duck that lights things on fire to light the firecracker.
That should be easy enough. Any flaming duck, I think, will spread the fire too.
Great. But what I wanted you to do is just go through your journey through JoJo and tell the audience, what you liked most about each part, what some of your favorite characters were in the show, favorite moments, separate from each part. You can go through what you liked with each part, and then maybe go into specific moments, characters that you really liked. And I think at the end, maybe if you want to rank all 5 parts from least favorite to favorite, I think that'd be really cool. So why don't you tell the audience just, about your JoJo journey and tell us what you thought, because you are the anime guy. This flamingo is killing me. I need it to fall in. It's being bullied by the other ducks, and it's blue balling me. There's also a duck trapped inside it too.
Oh, it's happened. I was warned of this.
What?
That the flamingo would capture ducks, and the only way to free them is to kill the flamingo.
We have to save that port. Which one? This is the. I can't really tell what duck it is. Oh, it's the cracked vase one.
What a shame.
Damn, what a shame.
Damn, what a shame.
Finally, some good fucking ducks. The duck is raw.
The duck is fucking raw.
There was a time, and before we get into JoJo, there was a time where Lucas and I were on a Hell's Kitchen / Kitchen Nightmares binge.
Oh yeah.
Where we would just watch, especially Kitchen Nightmares. We would watch just episode after episode, and there were some pretty fucking funny moments, like the food is not that bad. There's an episode where these 2 brothers, who are way in over their heads, are owning a restaurant.
Oh yeah, they're twins, right?
They're twins, and their family squabbles happen and whatnot. But for some reason, Gordon's like, what would help save this restaurant? Family therapy. So he takes the both of them to this boxing arena. Do you remember when he has them go boxing?
Yeah, it's coming back to me.
and so they're boxing, and one of the brothers is like, "I'm not a loser, I'm not a fraud," and he's like crying as he's boxing. I'm a winner. I just remember watching this, like, what is this? This has nothing to do with kitchens.
Yeah, no, good old Gordon. He knows how to. It's amazing watching so much. What do you call it? What's Hell's Kitchen? There's so many things that he does that it's not what Gordon Ramsay would do. It's him doing it for the showmanship. And I'm not gonna say all of it's completely rigged and like that, but there's so many things where he just pushes it to a level that's just ridiculous. The amount of times he just punches raw food to make it explode is unreal.
Yeah, like, imagine when you work the restaurant job we worked at in the past. If one of the chefs just punched one of the ribeye,
oh my goodness,
like, you can't do that.
no, it would be the runners who do that, because the cooks will put the stuff up, right, and the chef's not always there, so a runner would have to like be like, what is, whoa, tiger just came in and swooped.
That was wild. Oh, it caught the tiger too.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of great moments in Kitchen Nightmares, and
the food is not that bad. There's a part that comes from a part in the show where he's just Gordon's tearing into the food, like, you cooked it fucking raw, and one of the brothers just like is like in the middle of crying, and it cuts to him like talking to the camera, like in another part, and he's just like, he's like deep crying, like, it's not that bad. And it's just like out of nowhere. There's the other scene in the other episode where he figures out that they're using the microwave, and the chef's name is Berta. And if you remember, the main owner was like, "Berta, what are you doing?" And Berta's like, "I use the microwave." Do you remember? There's so many fucking random moments in that show. I also Hotel Hell is kind of the same way, which is interesting because so Ramsay actually went to school originally for hotel management before he became a chef. And when oh no, bye.
What? Where is it? Oh, it was the flamingo. I thought it was the firecracker. Wait, what? Oh, yeah. Night came right by.
And he shanked it. R.I.P. Put a picture of naked snake saluting, that famous scene where he's saluting and crying. Put that in there right as it deflates.
Yeah, have to pay respects.
Press F to pay respects. That's perfect. Oh man, but yeah, so Hotel Hell was a show he made after the success of Kitchen Nightmares, where it's instead of him going into a restaurant and figuring out why it sucks and how to save it, he does it for hotels. And I guess that stems from him learning how to do hotel management before he became a famous chef way back when. And it's a decent show. It has its weird moments, like just weird like hotel designs. There's one hotel, one of the more iconic episodes, where this guy was obsessed with, I think it was Porsche. He was obsessed with some certain model of car, and he designed a whole hotel off of, it was Ferraris. He was obsessed with Ferraris, so his whole hotel gimmick was, the whole point of the hotel is he's obsessed with the Ferrari, so it's like you're living in a Ferrari. So like the interior of the hotel is this ugly cherry red, off the design of the iconic Ferrari red, but it's not like cool like Ferrari. It's just this horrifying to look at red wall and red floor. The bathtub is like supposed to be the design of like an engine, a Ferrari engine. The seats are like seats taken from a Ferrari, and it's horrifying.
Yeah, that sounds
horrifying.
Weird.
And Gordon was like, of course, like obviously like, of course nobody is going here. Who wants to? The whole gimmick wouldn't even like work. Nobody cares.
It also just makes it sound like your hotel's going to be expensive for no reason.
Oh yeah, it was definitely expensive. I think I remember the food that you could order, which I mean, normally hotel food is expensive as it is, but this was like a whole different level of like an arm and a leg in terms of pricing. And no surprise that hotel didn't last long. But we're getting aside from the point. I want you just as we said earlier, to go through your journey with JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and tell the audience what it was like watching JoJo. Tell us through going through each part what you liked most, and then what you didn't like. Some of your favorite characters. So each part, do those 3 things, and then at the end of all that, go through some of the more iconic moments that you really enjoyed, and then rank from least favorite to favorite all the 5 parts that you watched. So I guess we'll start with Phantom Blood.
Let me pull up a list of everything so I can keep it in head, because you have all these titles for it. I didn't really follow it title wise. It was just this group, this group, this group. That's all I really thought about it as. Let me
so Phantom Blood has Jonathan and Roberto Speedwagon, if you remember him.
I do like
the goat.
Speedwagon. Okay, I think I got the yeah. All right, I got it. Okay, well, I did like Phantom Blood, actually. I thought it was silly. I think it was because the whole thing was generally serious, but also ridiculous. Though
that's what's called Bizarre Adventure.
Exactly, right? So the whole story, the setup of this deep-seated grudge that will, permeate the generations, I think is great. And the way they tell it, okay, so they did not get separated from going through the tube, the magnets. Anyway, so going through, getting the backstory, I enjoyed that. I know a lot of people think it's kind of boring, but I think it's a necessary setup that introduces so many important themes, and not to mention all of the important characters. Speedwagon, is it Jonathan? He's the first one.
Yeah, Jonathan.
Jonathan, of course. Dio, what's her name? Granny.
Arena.
Arena, yeah, Granny Arena.
By the way, Dio's voice actor is like one of my favorite Japanese voice actors. He's so awesome.
He is a great voice actor. There's this one voice actor. I wish I knew his name. In this anime called Id Invaded. Id being reference to the part of your mind, like your consciousness. The main character for that, I love his voice, and I've heard it in a lot of different anime coming up now. I can't think of which other characters and their names or whatever, because I just watch so much sometimes. But no, he's probably my favorite.
I can't keep track.
Yeah. But anyway, yeah. So
Dio, Arena, Jonathan.
Yeah, all the
Roberto, Speedwagon.
All the major characters and the type of person that Dio is, like all of that is just established as it should be in the first arc, I guess you would say.
It's crucial. You have to watch it to understand the show.
Yeah, and I really enjoyed that. I thought it was fun. Of course, battle tendency was also very fun for being very ridiculous as well, because now you have Joseph Joestar in his youth, right?
My favorite Joestar by far. Joseph is my favorite.
Yeah, he's what, 3 generations of Joestar?
So it's Jonathan, and then Arena has a kid, and then so Arena is the grandmother of Joseph, so he would be technically the third Joestar.
He's the 3rd Joestar, but he goes through like 3 of these arcs, right? He's in Battle Tendency, he's in Stardust, and he's in Diamond is Unbreakable.
Yeah.
And of course, he's got probably one of the most notable personalities. I know no, not Josuke. Is it Josuke?
Josuke is part
Jotaro. 4. Jotaro. He's I think one of the most as well. The two, I mean, what am I saying? They're all Joestars. They're the main characters. But Joseph, he's a blast, right? It's funny and stupid. Like the whole next thing you're about to say is this, and then they say it, and then they go, huh. It's fun, and it's used just enough where it's not like this ridiculous, annoying, repetitive bit that he does.
They say it just enough for it to be. Remember, it shows up that one moment in part 3, and it's just like, yeah, he's still says it.
Yeah, and then
that was one of my favorite. I love that.
And I think Jotaro does it at one point too, which is a nice callback to Joseph. Mm-hmm. And the whole, like, you understand in part 1 that Dio is a vampire, right? And
he starts out as a human, but uses the mask to turn into a vampire.
Exactly, yeah. And then battle tendency, right? Like right off the bat, Joseph's like, vampires. This is ridiculous, and pulls out a Tommy gun and just blasts him. Like, it's just, what a perfect scene. And then the way he just harasses this lady that he just saves is just he's like, really comical.
The little buddy he's with is like, what are we gonna do? And he's like, I'm gonna use my legs and to run away.
Yeah, the ultimate strategy.
Oh, that's so great. And part 2 is amazing. I love it,
and it's great. It really is. And of course, you can't forget about Stardust Crusaders. I feel like, because that one's 2 seasons, right?
So it's part 3, but it's separated into 2 sections. There's pre-Egypt, and then there's the post-Egypt arrival.
Yeah, so it's road trip, and then it's the Egypt part.
Yeah.
And, I mean, the road trip was fun. I just liked having them go through all these areas, fight new people. You know, you get the enemies who become allies. Of course, Polnareff is just such a great guy, you know? Like, at first, you're like, Polnareff is so kind of annoying sometimes. And Iggy, God, you hate Iggy.
Yeah.
And then Iggy has his moment, and you're like, all right, his dog ain't so bad.
His fight against the bird was so great, especially how he kills it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, of course, Polnareff just being a badass throughout, and showing up again, finally, in, wait, is he in Diamond is Unbreakable?
No. He's only in part 5. Weren't you? You were caught off guard when you saw him too, right? You didn't know he was going to show up.
I mean, I think when they started talking to somebody through like the computer, and you didn't know who it was, I was like, who is this gonna be? I was like, it's gotta be like Polnareff. He's like the only person alive, right?
Yeah.
I hoped that it was like Jotaro, but he didn't talk right to be Jotaro, so that didn't work out. But having Polnareff in there was nice. He was a good character. The way the Crusaders ended was just so intense. His fight, him and oh gosh, what's his name?
Kakyoin?
No, not Kakyoin. The other guy.
You talking about part 3, right?
Yeah.
You talking about Dio and Jotaro?
No, it's when he sacrifices himself after saying.
Oh, against Vanilla Ice.
Yeah, Vanilla Ice.
I like how they don't, because for copyright they can't put in the subtitles Vanilla Ice, but they just say Vanilla Ice anyway.
Yeah, I love that. Or what was it in part 5? I think one of the guys like Beach Boy, and then they just completely changed it to something else entirely. It's
you could say it, but you can't put it in writing.
Yeah, that's one of the, I think, the more fun parts about JoJo is that all these obvious references that you know they're not saying that because they say half of it in English.
One of the Pillarmen in part 2 is literally called ACDC, but in the subtitles it's spelled Essie Desi.
Oh yeah, it's I think the localized one I saw was ACDC. But yeah, they would just say ACDC.
Yeah, the creator of the manga is a huge music fan.
Yeah, it's fun to hear all the references and all that stuff. Like, it really is just a great thing. It's hard to pick which bits I like the most because there's so many star moments in all of it. Like, Josuke is probably my favorite, just because his pompadour, and
he's such a genuine. He looks like a stereotypical '80s Japanese gangster.
Exactly.
But he's such a nice guy. He's such a genuinely nice guy. Like when Jotaro's talking about how, spoilers if nobody's watched it, that he's the illegitimate child of Joseph and his mom, and Josuke's first reaction is, "Oh, I'm so terribly sorry for causing issues."
Yeah, right. Yeah, he's yeah, man, it's such a great cast of characters. Like, most of them are great. What's his name? Little guy.
Koichi
Koichi, yeah.
and his yandere girlfriend, the first yandere ever created, by the way.
Is that so?
That is true. She was the first example of a yandere in a manga.
Interesting. And I was actually there's this anime called Isekai Oji-san, or Uncle from Another World, and it had a weird run because the studio was having a lot of, I think, health problems going on, a lot of COVID stuff. So they cut it up into like 3 different parts, and it was only 12 episodes. So it was a really weird thing. And the one of the characters, the main character, I forgot his name, as he wakes up, he meets his uncle who was in a coma. Turns out in his coma, he was actually isekai'd, right? So he was still present, but he also existed in this fantasy world, right? Mm-hmm. And he's regarded as an orc because I guess he's just so hideous, and everyone in that world is just so attractive. So they all just think he's just some subspecies orc or half orc or something.
Oh no.
So they all think he's ugly. He got sold for like, I think what would be equivalent to less than, like if you had sense, and I mean that in like the dollar form. Uh-huh. He was sold for like 3
pennies.
3 pennies of what a penny is. Like that little is the thing that happened to him as soon as he came in. So his experience in this world was awful in the beginning, but he saves this elf girl, right? And she's a complete tsundere. And so he doesn't know this because the time he got isekai'd, supposedly, there hadn't been a popularization of a tsundere yet. So he didn't realize that she was being a tsundere. He just thought she hated him and was rude to him all the time, but didn't actually like him. But his nephew, who took him in after he woke up from the coma, and they're watching like his memories through magic. They're both like, he's like, this is totally a tsundere, and he doesn't realize it. And of course he doesn't want to tell him because he'd be so depressed, because this whole time he had been treating her like she was just a nuisance. And he was, of course, being a nice guy and being helpful and saving the world through various means, but feeling like he was being treated like shit throughout. And he's also obsessed with Sega, right? Because
like the game company?
Yeah, he thought Sega was going to win the console wars. So when he comes back, he's like, who won? And it's like, what are you talking about? It's like, who won the console wars?
Did Sega the Great finally War?
Yeah, did Sega prevail? And I was like, no, they did not. And he just gets super depressed. He's like, oh. And he spends a lot of his time just playing old Sega games, and a lot of his cool moments, he's just references from the hero of this Sega game, this old RPG or something. And but anyway, the whole tsundere thing happened after he got isekai'd, so he was just completely unaware of that. Anyway, the whole yandere fun fact you gave me made me think.
But yeah, I did also look it up. She was the first depiction of a yandere, and she was I'm sure there may be some of you that don't know what a yandere is. Yandere is somebody who's like, if I can't love you, nobody can, and I'm going to kill you before I let anyone love you. It's basically you're psychotic.
Yeah,
that's what a yandere is. And this one character, her name is Yukiko. She's one of my favorite characters because of her wild mood swings. In part 4, the side character Koichi is asked out by Yukiko, and it's like Josuke and I am drawing a blank on his friend's name.
Starts with an O, right?
Yeah.
Oma.
Okayasu or something like that.
Oh yeah, like Okayasu or Okayasu.
Yeah, it's Okayasu. So he and Josuke can't believe it. Like, why would this absolutely stunning girl want to talk to Koichi? And the reason why she's madly in love with him is because it's an effect of her stand, and her essentially her power is she fell in love with Koichi because he has a stand too. But she's like, want to talk to you. And Koichi's like, well, what do you want with me? And she's like, I'm just gonna say it, I'm madly in love with you. And Koichi's like, what? And they're like outside of this cafe, and she's just like, I know that you must think I'm ugly and you don't want to date me. And he's like, no, you're like drop dead gorgeous. It's just like, I like, this is all so sudden. She's like, do you love me too? And he's like, no, I don't. I just think. And she's like, oh, you don't love me. He's like, no, I don't think. And she slams her fist on the table, and all of a sudden it's like, do you love me or not? And like starts screaming, and he's like, oh, what? And she's like, oh, I'm sorry. I don't know. I don't even know what came over me. And then so she excused herself, and he's just like, what the hell just happened? And her stand is her hair. She can use it to like trap people or bind them up or use strands of hair, implant them in people's body, and use it to control them, almost like puppet strings. And later in the arc, she kidnaps Koichi. Like, if you remember that scene where he's sitting on his bed and she's like looking at him through his window, and he's like, what the fuck? And then she knocks him out. Do you remember that scene?
I do, yeah.
And so then he wakes up. She had found this mansion that was like essentially a townhome, and was vacant because nobody was staying in it until the summertime. And she's like, I've locked you in here and nobody's going to be here for months. So if you want to leave, you got to do exactly what I say. And she's like, I've noticed you're falling behind in school. We're going to learn English lessons. And he's like, oh God. She's like, in one box is a delicious asparagus. In the other box is eraser shavings. And whatever box you pick is what I'm going to force you to eat. He's like, what?
Yeah, so like she has him answer like questions and stuff, and if he gets the wrong one, it's something ridiculous that he has to deal with.
And he cheats, and she catches him cheating and tries to get him to eat something else that's like, I think it's like pencil dust or whatever. But essentially, the end of the arc is they end up fighting each other using their stands, and his stand is he can freeze things in place. He can amplify sound, and he can also turn things to rubber by touch.
Yeah, so he has three I guess phases of his stand, right? So the first one
Act
is
1,
that
Echoes Act 1, Echoes Act 2, and Echoes Act 3.
Yeah, or I thought it was reverb.
It's reverb, but his power is Echoes Act 1, Echoes Act 2. Echoes Act 1 is I can scream loud to hurt people's ears. Echoes Act 2 is I can turn things to rubber, and then Echoes Act 3 is I can freeze things in place.
Oh, okay. I thought it was just he just said a word and it applied. So like
That's the first power.
Yeah, he just says an adjective and it becomes a thing.
Yeah, that's the second power. Yeah.
So the first one is he says it like drips, right, and then water sounds. Is that?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, and the second one is he applies a
adjective to something.
Yeah, like a material type of thing. So you could say
yes.
bouncy.
Rubber.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so and then the third one
is he basically amplifies gravity and like forces things into place.
Yeah, it's unbelievably powerful is the thing, and he doesn't unlock his third one until that moment, right? Until she abducts him.
He unlocks his second form through the fight.
Oh,
where he can turn things to attribute. Because at the end of the fight, okay, so the one thing she loves more than anything, even more than Koichi, is her hair. And he electrocutes her because he turns something into the adjective of shock. And he electrocutes her so bad that it turns her hair white and frizzles her hair. And she she's like, you fucked with the one thing I love more than anything. I'm going to rip your intestines out. And is like choking him out with her hair. But she's standing at the edge of a cliff that's about to break, and he's trying to warn her, but she's choking the life out of him. So obviously he's not getting any words out.
Yeah.
But he uses the last of whatever power he has, and you don't see this at first, but he turns the sharp rocks at the edge of the cliff into rubber so that she'll bounce back up to safety. And so he saves her, and then he's like, "You're fucking crazy. Leave me alone." And she's like, I'm still in love with him. And then she shows up later in the arc. If you remember, she has that whole beauty thing, and then I guess they decide to love each other at the end. And then the one of the last scenes of the show is him holding her hand, walking across the street. So that's kind of nice. But I love her character just for the unpredictability, because she's obviously like extremely beautiful looks wise. That's why Josuke and
Okuyasu.
Okuyasu are like, how the hell is she gonna want to date this dorky looking guy? But the fact that she can have these absurd mood swings of like, what the fuck are you just say it? And like she gets like fucking crazy. It's just so funny. And the fact that she's like the first yandere in a manga is just great. So,
Yeah,
but going
and I absolutely love Koichi's character arc. He starts off as this completely passive, like bullyable
loser
kid, and then as he goes on, he gets more and more like he starts to defend himself, and then he starts defending others, and then finally he starts to defend himself until he just goes up and becomes the guy who stands up against like evil or something.
Yeah, and even Jotaro is like, because remember they use his third power to trap the main character, the main bad guy, from using his bites of dusto. And Jotaro's like, I'm so glad I met you. Literally, he says that. He's like, man, you are really reliable.
Yeah. Koichi is the underdog all-star of what part was that? 5?
That was part 4.
4, yeah.
He shows up in part 5 for like the first 2 episodes and gets mugged by Giorno.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I really did like Golden Wind. Of course, the intro song was a banger, but
oh yeah,
I did wish that it went through a different direction a little bit.
Yeah, they kind of got a little too convoluted at the end when people were swapping bodies. I was kind of like,
And probably my biggest issue with it is, I think you've told me, what's the writer's name?
His name is
Start with a T.
I just said it earlier too. Araki is his last name. I don't remember his first name, but Araki is his first name. Something Araki. But the whole meme.
Oh, Hirohiko.
Yeah, Hirohiko Araki. I know you're going with this, is that he forgets things.
Yeah, right? So, you have this whole series, right? And, oh man, I forgot what I was going to say.
The issue you have with part 5 is that certain things were established, were forgotten about, or not even acknowledged.
Yeah, or the same thing with part 4. Like in part 4, you have the part, the reason Josuke, yes, the reason Josuke has his hair is because he thought it looked cool from a guy who saved him when they were in a snowstorm and he was like sick and dying.
Yeah,
and literally, it just looks like him, but beat up and stuff. And so you think, oh snap, is there going to be some weird time jump where he somehow saves himself in the past and ends up like, I don't know, like maybe dying or something? And then, no, never addressed again. You got that one scene and it's gone forever. And
I think he had probably intended to, but I think he'd probably intended to do some weird time travel thing. Because if you remember, Kira can time travel. He can go back in time.
And it was gonna work. It was there. And he's sorry. He forgot. Celebrate good times. Why? What just happened?
Firecracker went off.
Oh my god, I had been following it so long and I finally click away from it and it goes off.
Yeah, I saw it just pop up in the sky there. Woo! Celebrate duck times, come on.
This episode's full of stuff, isn't it? Yeah, so like
this is one of our more interactive episodes. We had the flamingo falling and dying, firecracker.
Yeah, the magnets going through the chute and still not getting separated.
But so to continue off, you went through part 4, but you were saying that part 5 has an issue where things are just forgotten about.
Yeah, there's something about it that I was trying to remember. Okay. Here we go. So this was loosely related to that. Giorno's entire existence. Somehow Dio had a kid. Are you kidding me?
At some point.
Palpatine returned. Is that what you're doing to me right now? Like, come on.
It's pretty similar to Rey being Palpatine's child. Like, I highly doubt Dio, who openly hates humanity and thinks him better than anyone ever, would ever want to procreate with another human.
Right? And he's not like the kind of guy who would assault people in that way.
No, because he finds them disgusting. He wouldn't want to do that. He's like, I'm better than everyone. If you get in my way, I'm going to kill you. He's not going to be like, oh,
yeah,
horny.
It's so weird. maybe you could have argued that it's maybe no. See, it doesn't even work that way. Like I was gonna say, when he was like a kid and before he got all that way, and he was still just kind of a shitty guy. But even then, he didn't have Jonathan's body for that reason. So that couldn't work anyway, because he has to have Jonathan's body for the star to be part of Giorno. And that just never gets addressed again, except for the fact that Giorno also goes like muda muda muda, like he does the whole thing.
Yeah, he does the muda, the muda thing. Yeah. Part five kind of has a lot of writing errors, to the point where Giorno's stand, like the explanation of it is just, I can do it. I literally can do anything. Like that's his power. His power is not funny. Didn't happen. He can alter reality. He can repeat reality. And like they never explained it in the manga. And so in the anime, they try to have a section where Giorno explains his stand. But even then, diehard fans are like, it doesn't make any sense. Like going back to a previous episode we recorded, it's similar to the Matrix Reloaded, where the Colonel Sanders looking guy is explaining
the architect,
the Matrix, and you're just sitting there and you're like, what? And it's like him. That's like him explaining his stand in part 5, where he's like, you're just like, what?
Well,
so the whole meme is not funny, didn't happen.
It just turns things into organic things.
No, his whole thing is, well, see, that's a part of it. But then later when he becomes Requiem experience, when he takes part of Diavolo's powers, because Diavolo's powers are, instead of stopping time, he can just remove chunks of time. So, like for example,
that's right, the queen.
Yeah,
Killer Queen.
No, that's Kira. He's got oh gosh, what is his stand's name?
Crimson Red. Crimson Emperor.
Red, yes. Yes.
That's it. We got there.
Yes, or yes, we got it.
Some kind of monarchy.
Yeah, so these next 5 seconds of real time, his power would be, I can remove the second and third second. From this equation. So then what Gold Experience Requiem is like, I am reality. It's basically the reality stone that Thanos has, for you Marvel fanboys, where he's like, I could just do whatever I want. Not funny, didn't happen. And the thing is, his stand, because usually somebody comes back from every part, has somebody coming back from a previous part. Part 2 has Robert, Speedwagon, and Irina. Part 3 has Joseph. Part 4 has Jotaro. Part 5 has Koichi and Polnareff. But part 6, I mean, it has Jotaro again, but that's because
it's his daughter.
It's his daughter. Originally, and I think I told you this before, the plan was Giorno was going to show up. But the problem is, Giorno's stand is so busted by the end that he would show up, and literally, unless you just completely destroy his stand, he would just solve the problem immediately. Like, it would just be solved completely. He would just show up, go snap his fingers, and then everything would be okay. So that's why he decided, that's why Araki's like, I can't bring him back.
That's also the problem I have with Stone Ocean, is that the entire thing could be completely avoided. Like the whole season arc, whatever, it could have just been Jotaro showing up, been like, I'm getting you out because bad things are here and you don't have a choice. And then he uses his Star Platinum and just takes her and then explains things to her properly.
And then that's it.
And he just fails to do that. And so, great. There you go. I get that she doesn't like him very much because he's been absent for most of like her life. So, but I feel like it can be handled better. You can only go so far saying, "Oh yeah, sorry, Jotaro just sucks at talking." Like, okay, come on. It's very frustrating.
I'm not a fan of Stone Ocean. I read the manga version and I didn't like it. I watched about 5 or 6 episodes of it and I was like, I'm over it. And I know, Lucas, you weren't really a fan of it either, although you were probably burned out from Jojo. But I think even if you weren't burned out, you'd still be like, I'm just not feeling it.
Yeah, I've been thinking about whether or not I should go and finish it, but like, because there are some parts about it that's interesting, but I just don't like the prison setting. Like, it's just too, it's too restrictive, you know? Like, there's too many barriers and walls that there's no way to kind of get out of them reasonably. Whereas, you know, we talk about Stardust Crusaders, right? They're literally on a road trip. It's freedom in the purest sense. They're doing whatever they want, and it feels like anything can happen. The Stone Ocean doesn't feel like that. It feels like what could possibly happen, you know? And I guess in that way there's a draw to it, but I don't get that out of it, you know? It's just, it feels limiting and uncomfortable in that sense.
Also, the side characters aren't nearly as fun as any of the other parts. I mean, I didn't really like the side characters in part 5. I mean, they were okay, but part 6 was even worse. I was just like, I don't care about any of these side characters. They're all lame.
I agree. I did like part 5, but the best character was Polnareff.
Yeah, but see, part 1 has great side characters. I like Zalefi, the guy that teaches Jonathan. What is it? His what's the power that they use in part 1 and part 2? It's not stands. It's
it's like
Hammon.
Yeah, Hammon energy.
Yeah, it's interesting that the show and the manga at first. So the first 2 parts don't have. So first of all, the show's most famous for its stands. Like there's just the work of an enemy stand.
Yeah.
Are stuff like that. But the first 2 parts don't have stands. It has Hammon, which is light energy, and using attacks by breathing and harnessing the power of light to defeat vampires and demons and whatnot.
Yeah, it's like Paladin Key.
Yeah, and so Jonathan's big move is Sunlight Yellow Overdrive, where he basically goes Super Saiyan for a second and just beats the shit out of Dio. Joseph has his techniques as well. I also like in part 3 how his stand utilizes Hammond. I do like that a lot.
Yeah.
His hermit purple. And then he actually, if you remember when they're fighting Dio's about to, first when he freezes time, he's about to kill Joseph. He swings down to basically chop his head off and stops. And he realizes that Joseph has his whole body wrapped in Hammond. So you can see that if Dio had touched him, he would have been severely hurt. So that's why he takes a few steps back and flings a knife at his freaking neck.
Yeah.
But yeah, part 6, I mean, part 1 has great side characters. Part 2 has great side characters. I like Caesar, Lisa, Robert's back, Smokey, if you remember, shows up in part 3 for a second when Susie Q's talking to old Joseph, and there's a magazine or no, it's an invitation to an event to Susie Q that's going to feature Smokey. So that's a nice little callback to Smokey.
Yeah.
And then part 3 has, in my opinion, the best side characters: Kakyoin, Polnareff, Abdul, Iggy, and then Joseph is a side character essentially, but I mean, he rocks. And then part 4 has some pretty amazing side characters too. Part 4, you could arguably say part 4 has better side characters. It's tough because I like Okuyasu. I like Rohan, who is a self-insert for Araki. He's admitted that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he said that Rohan is a self-insert because he's an obsessed manga artist.
Oh, that's right, that guy.
And then Koichi's great. And then part 5, I mean, they're okay. They could have done more with Trish being the daughter of the main bad guy, but they never did. So that was kind of disappointing.
Yeah.
If you remember.
Yeah. It was like, oh, this is some thing, and the only reason that she needs to go is because she's blood related, which means they can figure out who it is. But like, that was no real connection there. It felt more like a plot device than it did a character that had attachments. You know, it didn't.
Yeah.
And I guess that's kind of the point of the main villain, is that he doesn't have these attachments, so you can't trace who he is, because if you do, then he could be killed.
Yeah.
But no, it does have weird moments, and like I said, like the side characters weren't nearly as great. Jonah was great. His power was cool, and the power up moments, always in anime, power up moments are the coolest part. As long as there's not too damn many of them.
Hey, come on now. We're not talking about that one.
All right.
Don't do me dirty. Come on.
But
Listen, I'm saying pink-haired Super Saiyan is cool. Okay, it took a while, but I think it's cool. Okay. Okay. Rose. I don't think blue is cool, but I think rose is cool. Sue me. Anyway, back to Jojo.
Wasn't blue just like God mode, but not God?
Okay. I'll explain this really quickly because for the audience that doesn't know,
We're talking about Dragon Ball Z, by the way.
For those of you who don't know, I'm like obsessed with Dragon Ball lore and have spent a concerning amount of time understanding the power-ups. So you got Super Saiyan 1, Super Saiyan 2, Super Saiyan 3. That's fine. Okay. Then you've got God, which is the form with the red hair, which in Battle of the Gods requires 5 other Saiyans to give all of their combined power to one Saiyan in order for him to ascend to godhood. Okay, so far so good. You have to do a ritual. That's a new thing. You've never had a power up that involves a ritual, so that's cool. Then blue is basically the Super Saiyan version of that form.
Is it?
Yeah.
And I thought it was just the same version, but without the ritual, so it's not like the exact same.
Well, okay, so technically, you could argue it is. The manga version of Dragon Ball Super does a better explanation, does a way better job discerning between the two. Red is more focused on defensive moves. Like, for example, in the Broly movie, if you remember, Goku goes red and uses his ki to trap Broly in place.
Okay.
So red is more defensive and like using your ki to manipulate things. Blue is basically raw power and just complete on the offensive attack. So you could argue that's the difference. But yeah, basically blue is without the ritual and a little bit of a power boost.
Okay.
Then there's Rosé, which when it first debuted, I thought it was stupid. I was like, really? Super Saiyan pink? Okay. But then I went back and I thought about it and I rewatched the arc and I realized that the whole point of Rosé, just as a quick nutshell, the main character is a legitimate god who got jealous of Goku and used the Dragon Balls to body swap with him because he was jealous of how strong he was. And the whole point of Rosé is he's a pompous, arrogant asshole who thinks he's better than everyone. So Rosé is basically him giving a middle finger to Saiyans and the Super Saiyan form and is like, look what I can achieve with only my own divine powers. And so that's why he calls it Rosé, because he's all about elegance and beauty, and Rosé is refined, unlike you barbaric Saiyans. And look what I've taken your power, Goku, and made it my own. So when I looked at it that way, I was like, okay, I actually respect that. I like that he's such an asshole that he literally is such a dickhead that he made his own Super Saiyan form and was like, look what I did, Goku. So I respect that, and that's what made me like the form, because it's basically a form made out of pure spite.
And we can all relate to that.
So I like that a lot. And then, of course, there's, Broly's got his own thing, like he's the legendary Super Saiyan, and his hair is more of a lime, like not really lime green, more of a greenish tint. And it's basically, they explained it in the movie where it's all the ferocity of the Great Ape form and uncontrollableness and pure rage, but in Super Saiyan form, which is why Broly is as extremely tough as he is. He's also a learning prodigy. He can learn as he fights, which was really cool to see in the movie as well. If you remember, Vegeta says that when he's fighting him. So I like the Broly movie. I know you liked the Broly movie too.
Yeah, I should say that I know I like to talk shit a lot about Dragon Ball Z because it's such an easy target. But the movies from the Super era are all bangers. Resurrection F, Battle of the Gods, the Broly movie, their animation is fantastic.
And superhero.
Oh, he's superhero, yes. And they're fighting, all of that, it's just great. It's all fun. And superhero I actually really, really liked. I felt like it stood a little bit above some of the other ones as far as balance wise. I felt like it did a better job keeping all of it tied together than some of the other ones, which, like, the Broly movie was great, but it was literally just 100% fight.
It was just fight.
Yeah, it was nonstop fight, okay, tap out. We're gonna go learn something and fight. Like there was nothing else, and that's great. That's fine. That's all it was for. That's all Dragon Ball Z really is a bunch of cool fight scenes. When they don't draw it out by 600 episodes, you know.
They did have in the Broly movie. They had that nice little backstory moment with Bardock, and you get to see how Planet Vegeta explodes and how did Broly escape Planet Vegeta exploding. So you got to see that.
Yeah, that is nice, and I think they refer to Broly in Superhero, right?
Or Broly is in Superhero. You know, he's in Superhero. There's a moment before Gohan and Piccolo go to rescue his daughter where you see Goku and Vegeta. They took Broly to Beerus's planet so they could help him control his rage.
Yeah.
And still like tap into Super Saiyan. And then Goku and Vegeta have a really cool fight scene, which in the after credits, Vegeta actually wins. So that's a nice little win for Vegeta fans.
That's right. Yeah. Those movies give me everything I want from Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah, I mean, if they want to keep making movies the way that they have been, I'm totally fine with that. I think the movies are fantastic. Some of the best fighting choreography I've seen. I think Broly is some of the best fight scenes I've ever seen in Dragon Ball, especially the last fight when Gogeta goes blue and just completely eviscerates Broly. That whole last 5 minutes is just spectacular.
Yeah, it's a lot of cool stuff. Anyway, we're talking about...
So I guess we should, to finish up the JoJo talk, tell me from each part, favorite characters and favorite moments, just key moments, and then rank them from worst to best.
Okay, all right, I can do this. So
I can do this.
Oh God, let me get my notepad out. I got it. Oh, this is a sushi order on this. Where's my pen?
And I'll do the same after you too. I'll give my favorite characters and parts.
So
in battles.
Part 1, right? I would say my favorite character is Speedwagon.
Okay.
And my favorite part is when Speedwagon becomes Jonathan's ally. So
after they fight in the alley?
Yeah, and he's just like, no, he's just such a pure gentleman. I have to respect him.
He's so full of class.
Yeah, right? He's just such a classy guy. I have to be his friend. And he just
so great.
does. And he becomes the greatest ally for the Joestar family. And it's amazing. Yeah. It's just so stupid. It's great. Man. Battle Tendency, it's hard. That one I blasted through so fast that it becomes such a blur. I feel like, I mean, Smokey's great and all, but I feel like Joseph is just, he's Joseph, you know? Like he's the character, and he's just such a great character. The moment from that is probably the Tommy gun. Yeah, it's just, I love that. It's the most memorable for me. I feel like. Let's see, Stardust Crusaders. I think I have grown to like Polnareff the most. I think he's the most dynamic character. There's a lot of great moments with Jotaro. A lot of great moments with all of the characters, really. But I think, I like Polnareff as a character more. As far as dynamics go, as far as personality, I think he's got the best growth. He's got the best movements and all that stuff. But I think my favorite moments are Jotaro's, his final attacks, you know, when he finally defeats the bad guy. It's always such a simple thing, like the gambling bit where he just doesn't even look at the cards and he wins because he's just pretends to be like, know what he's doing. He's just like, I'm just so much better than you at this, and just by pure poker face. That's all he did. He just kept his same poker face that he has as his character, and it wins. And that's a good moment, I think. Let's see. That's Diamond is Unbreakable. So it goes back. I do like Okuyasu. Okuyasu. I love that he's just so dumb. He has like literally the most powerful ability, but he's just too dumb to use it properly. To remove things from existence or teleport them, we don't really understand what. He could use that to solve everyone's problems. But he's just not smart enough to do it, or he's not present when it's necessary. Like Kira's ability, the bomb that will always chase you down until it blows up its target. Okuyasa could just destroy it. And it would explain where things go when he uses his power, and then it would slowly make its way back, but maybe it wouldn't do it until, I don't know, 10 million years from that point. I think his ability is great, and his personality is comical because he's dumb, I guess. But as I mentioned before, like Koichi he's got the best character growth, you know? He becomes a completely different person at the end, but with his same core values at heart. And that alone is really good. But I think I resonate more with Josuke getting offended so greatly if someone even makes a comment about his hair. Regardless of what it was, his response is, "You're talking shit about my hair? I'm gonna kick your ass." That's it. Like, oh, the guy with the hair? Whoa. Don't say that. He'll kick your ass like that. So I think Josuke would have to win just from that alone. And maybe it's a meme, but the best moment would have to be Kira talking about himself. Like, I just want to live a quiet life, you know? I'm 30 years old. I go to sleep like his whole description thing. Like, I think I've seen it as a copy pasta. I think it's just too classic, you know? You can't forget that. Let's see. And then we have Golden Wind. Of course, it's got to be Giorno just because he's the only person I actually like that much. I know that Koichi shows up and then he fucks off and is really disappointing. And I already picked Polnareff, so I can't do that. And the best moment, that's a hard one because maybe it'd just be the Requiem final like thing, just because it's cool, you know? Like, I don't think there's enough moments for me where I feel like this is peak and I love this for this reason. There's the weird dancing sequence on the boat. But I just thought that was weird. Like, it was fun, I guess. But I don't really care about it. I'm not going to say that it doesn't belong in the show. I'm not going to complain that much, but I don't have a lot of moments that I can really think of in part 5 that stuck out enough to me. Yeah. So I just maybe the final power up on that. And I don't have anything for Stone Ocean because I didn't get far enough in to like anybody or to have a good moment, right? But if I had to rank them...
Yeah, excluding Stone Ocean, because that would obviously be last.
I'd have to put 5 probably at the bottom just because I don't have enough from it. Actually, you know, I'd put the Akira's monologue at the bottom. And then I'd pick Giorno.
No, I mean when I rank the parts as a whole, like.
Oh, as a whole? Oh, I thought you were the experience with it. As a whole, well, 5 would still probably be the bottom. I really did like part 4 a lot. So let's see. I'll keep 5 as 5. Part 4 is probably my favorite, so I'll 4 is 1. All right, let me write these things down. Part 3, part 2, part 1 is hard because they're all very good, and the difference in quality of how I like them is going to be very minimal, right? So it shouldn't be that whatever's second to last is that much closer to part 5. It's just that they're all very close to each other. I think I would put part 1 as 4. I'll go, I'm kind of saying a lot of this to myself, so I'll explain it better when I get these numbers down. Okay, yeah, so I like part 4 the most, right? And then I think part 2. I like the setting, and I like the circumstances. Everything I thought was just a nice experience. Part 3, of course, was very fun, you know? It's the whole, like I said before, the road trip was just a fun experience. The development between the characters even was really nice in part 3. And it's just an overall really good one. And I think it's a good all-arounder. And because just the foundation of part 1, I have to rank it as 4th, just because it's probably the least fun. It's got some great moments, and it's, of course, a foundation, but compared to the other 3 parts that I've already mentioned, 1, 2, and 3, or sorry, 4, 2, and 3, part 1 would be second to last, and part 5 would have to be last. I liked all of these parts, but
Gotcha.
This will have to be the order in which I distinguish them.
Okay.
What about you?
Okay. So for me, it would go worst would be part 5. It's okay, but I didn't, it is what it is. Then I would do part 1. It's the shortest by far, only 10 episodes, and there's not, compared to the other parts, even part 5, there's not that much like consistent action, but I do like the characters more than part 5, so it goes above it. Then I would do, you may not like this, but I would do part 4 next. As much as I love the characters and the setting, it also has one of the most satisfying conclusions I've ever seen to a part.
Yeah.
Lady Kill Kira. I just like the characters and setting so much more in part 3 and part 2, so I have to put part 4 third. Then I would do part 3 next as my second favorite. I like the Egypt section more than the Arrival. There are a couple episodes heading up to going to Egypt that I'm like, you could probably do without. Like the one little girl character that shows up twice. Like, do you really need her? I feel like she's just kind of useless.
Oh yeah, she was an odd, and she didn't tie in anywhere else.
No, she just showed up and then disappeared, and then showed up again and disappeared. And it's like, why did you did you have plans for her to do anything? I feel like he probably had plans for her and just either he forgot or was like, I can't do anything with her. And then part 2 is my favorite. I just love Joseph so much. He's so much fun to watch. And it's got it's got one of my favorite parts where Cars is about to win, and then Joseph's detached hand grabs him by the throat, and that's what launches him into space. And Joseph's taunting him like, I had the whole thing planned out. And then he's like thinking to himself, nah, that was all just fucking luck. So yeah, that's a great ending. So yeah, so from best to worst would be 2, 3, 4, 1, 5. That's how I would rank it.
Yeah, I think we got a lot of similar positions on these.
Yeah, and you're not going to believe it, Lucas, but it's been over an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Time has flown by. I think it's probably a good place to wrap up.
You got it. Let me get to these characters because we got a few things.
Yeah, there's a couple of new guys. Although, unfortunately, it seems like the firecracker duck, once he goes off, he's gone.
Yeah, so we'll have to count him in spirit. Firecracker happened. I'm at Cactus, Duck You, Reindeer, the Shattered, Magnet. And then we've got the Day of the Dead, I think, is what I would call this duck.
Cinco de Mayo.
Or Cinco de Mayo, I guess. Just that classic kind of aesthetic, I suppose. Mm-hmm. We've got, what the hell? Oh, Submarine, the Submariner. Finally officially exists here.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. Panda? Or...
Okay, yeah, I was thinking about what that was, and then you're right, a panda.
Maybe...
I think that's probably the best explanation, honestly. I can't really think of...
Yeah, wouldn't a panda have like a white circle in the black circle and then their eyes in the center of that?
I don't know.
Huh.
Anyway, I think panda. I think panda's the best because pandas have little black tails too, little
Okay, yeah.
black dot tails,
We'll
and
keep
he's
it
got a little
panda.
black tail. So yeah,
And then we've got
I don't,
Robo Duck.
I don't even. Yeah.
Oh, what is that duck called? DuckTales. Gizmo
I don't
Duck.
know.
We got Gizmo Duck
Gizmo
here.
Duck. Yeah.
Oh, I was hoping for a robot sound.
I was too.
And we got Pride Duck.
Pride Duck.
I was gonna say rainbow, but I'm pretty sure pink's not really a regular part of
No,
the
rainbow. I mean, the traditional rainbow does have pink.
No, it's red, orange, yellow, green, blue, violet. You can say indigo violet, but you're not really distinguishing much. Oh, and then we got, what is this? Cracked egg, boiled egg duck.
Yeah.
That you couldn't really get. It looks like it's, I don't know what you would say that is. Besides cracks. Dropped out of a car, made out of porcelain duck. Geoduck. Watermelon. I feel like we already had the Geoduck.
So one of us started as it.
Oh, okay.
Same with the submarine.
All right. We've got so many ducks. There's only so many left. We're at
Yes,
75.
Sir. Yes, sir. Well, let's go ahead and send the beautiful people home. What do you say?
Sounds good. Also, I should have mentioned the RoboDuck births a mini RoboDuck.
I did not know that.
It's like a wind-up toy that it sends out and explodes.
That's kind of funny.
But yeah, well, thank you guys so much for listening and or watching. This has been the Placid Plastic Podcast. If you guys like seeing this, hit subscribe. You want to tell us what you think about this one, hit like, comment, share it with your friends if you want to help us grow. And thank you guys so much for being here.
Goodbye, everyone. See you next time.
We'll see you in the next one.